Percy won a battle, got cursed. Percy brought the bolt back, got cursed. It's 2 out of 3 gods will curse you.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
that
getting
sounds
from.
about right. Greetings, mortals, monsters, and myth lovers alike. You're listening to Podcast of Poseidon, where we explore ancient myths and their modern retellings by reading Rick Riordan's Percy Jackson and the Olympians. This is Chapter 1, The Lightning Thief. I'm your co-host, on loan from the Hunters of Artemis, Darien and Smartt. Joining me is my co-host and brother, hailing from Cabin 12, DJ.
That's me, Dionysus is my daddy.
Yes, I'm sure our Baptist preacher dad will love that very much. But yes, today we are kicking off the podcast official by talking about the very first book, The Lightning Thief, which was almost called Son of the Sea God. I think Lightning Thief is a better name.
Yeah, because then that would have just given away one of the good. I mean, like, it's pretty easy to tell that he was a son of the sea god pretty much the moment he showed up on camp. But it was still a fun
surprise. And also, Lightning Thief is just a better name.
Oh, yeah. It's more, it's more about the fact that there was a lightning thief rather than the son of the sea god, which is kind of shocking. Being the first book, and he is the son of the sea god.
Well, I read the book on this lovely 10th anniversary Barnes & Noble's collector edition, which I don't actually remember going out to buy. I think I must have been buying a new Shadowhunter book, and this just happened to be on display. And I was like, oh yeah, my paperback version is literally falling apart. I might as well grab this. It's pretty cool. It's got the cool cover. I don't think there's any actual edits to the text. Not that I
doubt there would be. I mean, like, it was a pretty solid read back in 2010.
I think it came out in like 2005. But you probably read it in like 2010.
Yeah, I probably read it in 2009, 2010 for sure.
True. And I would say this still holds up. I really enjoyed rereading this, even though I am, in fact, 26 years old now.
I'm 21, and I listened to it through Audible, and I was wrong. It wasn't Jesse Eisenberg. It was Jesse Bernstein, who's got
I don't know that guy at all.
Yeah, right. He's got a questionable repertoire, fucking resume. But I mean, the guy did a pretty good job. There's a lot of like voices that I questioned, but I enjoyed listening to it because it's a good read, it's a good listen,
It is. So yeah, I forgot that it has this weird framing device right at the beginning where Percy's like, listen, this shit is real, and also I kind of hate my life, and also this feels familiar. You should just stop reading.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that too. Like when that started, I'm like,
yeah, it's a weird tone to set, especially this line. Being a half-blood is dangerous. It's scary. Most of the time, it gets you killed in painful, nasty ways. And I was just kind of taken aback for a second. I'm like, oh, right. The premise of this whole thing is like, no, this actually happens. And I think the ongoing idea is that Percy gives this story to, like, I don't know if he's Rick Riordan in the book, but he hands it to an author and that he has published this as, like, a memoir for Percy.
Yeah.
Which I definitely was like, this is weird, but it kind of dawned on me that, like, is it supposed to make it feel more real? Kind of like when the Greeks were sitting around and, like, telling these myths to each other.
Yeah.
The concept was like, no, but this really did happen. Hephaestus really did create a golden net and capture Ares and Aphrodite and, like, embarrass the hell out of them, and it was, like, a great Saturday for everybody except those two. And everyone's like, yeah, this is legit. So I guess
it was a little jarring, especially like after reading, Heroes of Olympus from the third person, flopping between every cast, going back to first person.
Yeah.
Even though, we did Magnus Chase, but Magnus Chase wasn't that,
I think it's a bit more refined Magnus at that Chase point.
Yeah, oh yeah, it is. I mean, that's his most recent series, aside from also Apollo.
Trials of Apollo. By and large, like, being a kid's book from the first person can get really annoying if you've, read Goosebumps or any of those, like, I'm a kid detective, I'm gonna save the day! Like, that can get really grating, especially when you're adults now. But I think this one actually feels, I don't know, like he tapers it.
He does a pretty good job of it.
It never comes off as being grating. Like, Percy talks like a kid.
But the shit he's going through is definitely not something for a kid.
Yeah. Especially We should probably get into the plot a little bit more. We open at what should be a pretty solid field trip, but it sounds like Percy's class kind of sucks, so that's a little draining.
I mean, yeah. Museums are
Museums
great.
are
They were
great. I
always a
love
fun
going on museum field
field
trips.
trip.
Yeah.
Well, you got this. I don't even remember her name. She was so unimportant. The bitch that was just picking on Grover.
Yeah, I have it right here.
You got the book right
I
there.
do. I have it. Nancy Boba Fett, who definitely was Boba Fett in my head because
Jesse Bernstein pronounced it as Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
Oh, well, Boba Fett.
Boba Fett. Okay. Okay, so to clarify, they went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in Manhattan because Percy's from New York. The most important takeaway is that Percy's math teacher, Mrs. Dobbs, tries to murder him because she's actually a fairy.
Yep.
And then his Latin teacher, Mr. Burner, rolls up in his wheelchair and tosses Percy a sword that was once a pen. And then he kills his math teacher, and then when he leaves the museum again, everybody just gaslights him.
Everyone's like, I hope Mrs. What was it, like Cure? Took care of you?
Yeah.
I know it started with a C.
Describes her as like perky blonde and like really friendly.
Yeah, Grover and Chiron totally fucking gaslit Percy.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole first 2 chapters.
Like, what? No, which like later on you get that like, because the whole premise is like,
yeah, but then, like, it was really obvious Grover was doing it.
Yeah. I guess we didn't, I think we're operating under the assumption that, like, if you're listening to this podcast, you've probably read these books. If you're not, and if you're just joining us now, Percy's best friend is this scrawny kid named Grover, who is kind of weird and kind of walks with a limp. And his Latin teacher... Okay, so as Tavis already said, his Latin teacher is actually Chiron, the centaur who trains heroes. Why is the Greek centaur teaching Latin?
He probably couldn't get the curriculum of Greek. Like, let's be real here. He had to convince the Latin teacher to get out of his spot so he could take it, right? And it's like, I mean, that's already one change that the school had to go through. It's like, yeah, I'm changing the Greek too. And they're all
That's
like...
a little too much.
Why? Who the fuck uses Greek nowadays?
Who the hell uses Latin? Unless you're gonna, like, run a Harry Potter podcast and be able to, like, know what all the spells mean. You don't need Latin. It's not super helpful.
Yeah, but, like, Latin's more common than Greek. From schools I've seen, Latin's just an elective. Like, Latin's is just a common elective, but Greek is not.
Okay, I want to real quick clarify. Latin is not useless. I'm sure there are a lot of academic and career fields in which if you took Latin, it'll be incredibly beneficial.
Yeah,
I mean,
science.
But if you're 12...
Biology.
Yeah, like biology. But, like, if you're 12. Like Percy, who is he 12 yet?
He's 12.
Or has he turned 12?
Yeah. He's 12.
Okay.
He's 12, turning 13 in the summer.
Because Grover was all distressed because he says that he's like, oh, they never make it past 12?
Yeah, no, they never make it past 6th grade.
That's right, 6th grade. Okay. Percy's birthday becomes a thing later, but in the first book it's not because we don't know about the prophecy yet.
August 18th, which is shocking for Son of Poseidon. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think it'd be like maybe June is Cancer or February and March for Pisces and Aquarius, but
Summertime.
August 18th, I think that's like Leo. No, I don't know.
I know tarot, I don't know the zodiac.
Yeah, right.
Let's smash cut through this as quick as possible so we can actually get the fun parts, because as we discussed, there's way more before he actually gets to Camp Half-Blood.
When I was reading it, I thought it just went from the museum to camp.
Wow, there's like a bunch of stuff in the middle.
Yeah, I didn't realize that there was all this like covert ops Percy was doing, eavesdropping in on fucking Chiron and Grover.
Yeah, so Percy's trying to study, so he's dyslexic and he has ADHD, so it's really hard for him to focus. He's not super great at traditional schooling. So Percy's been labeled a bad kid. He never actually makes it to the end of a school year before he gets expelled or just politely asked not to return. And so that's why he's at this kind of... I mean, the school is like fine. It seems like it's a dumping ground for like rich parents who have problematic kids, and they just send them to this Yancey Academy.
Oh yeah, I think he even describes it like that too. So it's like not really much of a school, more of a daycare.
Probably, yeah.
Than anything else. Just a daycare with a sleepover.
Percy's actually trying to study for his Latin test because he likes Mr. Burner, his teacher. He's been told by his teacher that, like, this stuff will save your life one day. And he's like, what?
Honestly, he's probably sneaking Greek.
Oh, he is, because...
Like, let's be honest.
He teaches Greek and Roman, which you wouldn't usually learn. And again, I didn't actually take a Latin class, so I don't know whether they cover Greek stuff. But Chiron is just straight up teaching him the Greek legends, whereas you'd think he'd be teaching the Roman versions, but... obviously.
Because that's what Latin is, but he's like, oh yeah, don't worry, it's Latin, and no one like really knows Latin to
These
fucking.
12-year-olds aren't going to question it.
Well, I mean, like even the teachers are like, yeah, that's Latin. Meanwhile, he's completely teaching them a Greek
Oh,
curriculum.
he is. He's got like Roman armor and stuff that Percy says. But okay, so anyway, Percy's trying to study for this like final, and he's like, I am having such a hard time. I'm just gonna go and talk to Mr. Burner and be like, hey, I'm trying. When he has to give me an F, I want him to know that at least I tried and I didn't just like fuck off on this one. But when he goes to try to talk to his teacher, he overhears Grover already in the classroom, and they're talking about Percy and how there was a quote unquote kindly one that was at the school, and what are we gonna do? And no, we can't tell Percy yet. And so Percy like dips just in time to see like a scary large shadow of someone with a bow and arrow start to come to the door.
And what sounds like hooves going down the hall.
So nobody brings it up. School's over. He's asked not to return. Okay, this is fine. And he goes back home to New York, and Grover takes the bus with Percy. He's like, okay, this is weird. I didn't know you lived in Manhattan. Cool, man. And then the bus breaks down. And while they're waiting for the bus driver to fix it, Percy looks across the street and sees 3 old ladies sitting at a fruit stand, knitting just the biggest pair of socks. Or think a single sock. Just one sock. Big enough for Sasquatch or Godzilla, which Percy, those are completely different sizes.
Those are
totally different sizes. Sasquatch is like a size 25, and Godzilla would be like a size 3000. So first, I need you to just, what are you doing? I know you will know Greek stuff as he's 12.
He's 12.
No, but you're 12, and you know that Sasquatch and Godzilla are not the same size. Like, how big is this sock, Percy?
Let's be really, for me at 12 years old, I'm like, after size fucking 15, everything is just giant.
So while he's watching, and Grover sees the old ladies and starts to panic a little bit, while Percy is watching them knit, he watches as one of them brings out a pair of scissors and cuts the yarn. And it's kind of weird. Just really, like, weirdly intense for snipping some yarn. Obviously, as we'll figure out later, that these are the Fates. If you see them cut the thread of what might be your life, that's probably a bad thing.
No, it's not great. And then that's when Grover really starts to freak out. It's like, it's always 6th grade. They never make it past.
Percy's like, cool, man, I'm in 6th grade.
Yeah, what are you talking about? That's me. What
I'm
the
just gonna
fuck?
go ahead and ditch you at the bus stop and just dip back to my apartment and hopefully see my mom, because I don't want to deal with all of this anymore. So Percy goes to his apartment, and we find out that he's got like just a real shitty stepdad.
Just a real piece of work of that fucking dude.
Gabe.
I like how just immediately out the gate it's like, yeah, you're not supposed to like this guy. Absolutely not. There's no, you're not supposed to like him at all. Do not even like try to sympathize with him. He's not getting redemption arc. Just fucking, he's a piece of shit. Don't even worry about it.
He smells like moldy garlic pizza wrapped in gym shorts. Percy gets home. He's playing poker with his buddies. He demands Percy gives him whatever he has left from his, the bus fare.
Yeah, bus and taxi fare.
He makes fun of Percy for getting bad grades and for getting kicked out of school, which, dude, that's a 12-year-old. What is your problem? He's 12.
That was a big issue. I'm like, bro, you're just tearing into a 12-year-old that's barely yours. Not even.
His gambling buddies also suck because they watch this kind of abuse take place, and one guy half-heartedly is like, man, he's just a kid. But it's no, you're still hanging out with this asshole who you see regularly verbally abuse his stepson, and definitely has abused Sally in front of these dudes, and they're still hanging out with them. So I'm not gonna say they all suck. If you're gonna sit by and let this kind of thing take place, you are complicit in this kind of shitty behavior. So then Sally Jackson comes home, who is a goddess, not actual Greek goddess, but
she's incredible.
No, she's great. We learned that Sally, Percy's mom, she works at a candy store, I think in Grand Central Station. She had to drop out of college because her parents died in a plane crash when she was very young. She was saving up to go to school. I think her uncle got sick. I don't remember what exactly, but she wanted
something like that. She had a very unfortunate amount of unfortunate events that came through her life, but just Baudelaire.
Okay, so series of unfortunate events. But she's such a kind person. She clearly loves her son, even though Percy's, as he says, like, I know I do not make life easy for my mom. He's like short-tempered. He gets in fights. He's kind of like anger issues. He's a nice kid, but like your dad's never been around. A bunch of weird things always happen to you.
Yeah,
People never believe that like my math teacher turned into a winged beast and tried to murder me at the museum. You're crazy. Like a snake snuck into my
what the fuck are you talking about?
Crawled into my bed when I was a baby at daycare, and then I Hercules strangled it. And I was like, that's not a thing. But Sally's wonderful. We see more about how Gabe sucks while she's just trying to have a moment with her son, and he's like, hey, how about some bean dip? And it's like, fuck you jackass. She hasn't seen her kid since like Christmas.
Yeah, it's like that's easily 6 months. Like just piss off for a second, like 5 minutes at least. Or like, the rest of your life.
Yeah. So, but like Percy's really sweet. He's like, my mom is the nicest lady in the world. She should have been married to some millionaire, not some jerk like Gabe. Which, like, yeah, but this happens all the time.
Yeah.
Sally's like, Percy, just be chill with Gabe. Don't get in a fight with him for like 10 minutes. And as soon as we're done packing, we're going to the beach.
Oh, we're at the beach?
It's like their favorite place in the world because, of course, like they love going to the beach.
Yeah, Montag.
Thank you, DJ. Yeah, Percy's pretty sure that's where Sally met Percy's dad, who he has never met. He doesn't know anything about him. Sally doesn't like to talk about him. She just says he had to go away to sea and just never returned. And Percy's like, okay, well, fuck I guess. Yeah. Fine. All right. So they dip out. They go to the beach. It's a great time. They're eating all this blue food, which so here's the thing about the blue food, which I do love. It's super charming. It's like this thing where they eat blue corn chips and blue candy, and she'll make...
I'm super into, gotta say.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super cute. Like, Sally will make Percy like blue pancakes for breakfast on his birthday, all these nice things. I thought that was like a thing from Percy and Sally, where it was like when Percy was a little kid, he's like, why aren't there any like blue foods? And Sally's like, my boy, I got you. It's actually Gabe being an asshole.
Really?
Yeah. I like wrote that down because I was so taken aback is what actually is like Gabe and her got in an argument. Here it is. I guess I should explain the blue food. See, Gabe had once told my mom there was no such thing. They had this fight, which seemed a really small thing at the time. But ever since, my mom went out of her way to eat blue. She baked blue birthday cake, she mixed blueberry smoothies, she bought blue corn tortilla chips, and brought home blue candy from the shop. This, along with keeping her maiden name Jackson.
Okay. When I was listening, I kind of spaced out for that small bit and came back when he's like, he kept his last name.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what? Cool.
So she did, it's like proof she wasn't totally suckered by Gabe. She did have a rebellious streak like me. And so that's really sweet.
Okay. I'm not gonna try to defend Gabe here because he's a piece of shit. But do you think the argument might have sparked because there's no natural blue foods?
Probably that, but like, are we gonna get into semantics over food color?
Yeah, right.
Fine, dude. Don't be a dick about it because it just sucks. I feel like later on it gets retconned, so it's more of a Sally Percy thing, right?
I mean, at this point, it is like a Sally Percy thing because Gabe probably refuses to eat that kind of shit because of that argument.
Probably. So all's chill, and then suddenly there is a hurricane, which is weird because it's like June, and that's not hurricane season.
And it came out of nowhere. But as Percy mentions earlier, the weather's been really weird since Christmas, y'all. Like, I don't know what's up with it, but it's just been like weird. There's just been a weird vibe since Christmas.
And then suddenly there's a pounding at their cabin door, and oh shit, it's Grover. Grover, what are you doing here?
We gotta go.
Yeah, he's like, we gotta go. And Sally looks at her son and she's like, hey, Percy, what happened at school that you didn't tell me about? Because some shit happened and he didn't tell his mom about the Fury thing, which, fair, but also, Sally Jackson needs to know this kind of shit.
Oh, yeah.
So also, Grover is his satyr.
But I mean, like, let's be real here. Percy probably would have believed that his mom wouldn't believe it,
Which, yeah, fair.
Which is fair because no one fucking believed him.
But I think the reason he doesn't tell her is not necessarily because he doesn't think that she won't believe him. I think it's more like he just wants to have this normal moment with his mom for a little bit. And he's worried that I imagine whenever he's told her these weird things, I don't think she's ever straight up gaslit him like Grover and Chiron are doing. So before Grover shows up, Percy has one of his first like weird psychic dreams. It's about a white horse and a golden eagle on a beach trying to kill each other. Percy's like, I have to stop them! And then he just has this same dream like 4 more times, but with different characters. Like, you're just remixing the myth again and again to like get your point across.
Yeah, and then like every now and again, somebody will talk to him from the earth.
Yeah, and it just kind of accelerates from there because, hey, it's great. You're going to write about Greeks, and you need to use that whole dream
thing,
plot
'cause that's
device
kind
that
of
like helps.
important.
Yeah, it's super convenient for like getting across your themes.
All right, yeah, that's what I like. That's what I'm like seeing. I'm like, man, if without these dreams, the story would be practically fucking confusing.
Really confusing. The dreams actually do help. So Grover shows up. Twist. He's a satyr. He's got cloven hooves. They jump in the car. They speed away. Sally is trying to get them to some summer camp that Percy's dad wanted to send him, but she didn't want him to go there because if he did, she'd probably never get to see him. And they are being chased by something. DJ, do you want to reveal what they are being chased by?
The Minotaur.
It's the Minotaur!
The Minotaur from the labyrinth that was murdered by, I don't remember the guy's.
You know, we'll talk about it in the Minotaur episode. I don't remember either. Oh, but Percy does. I think he mentions it here.
Theseus.
There it is. Well done. So they get out, or they reach this hill. Sally's telling Percy, get over the hill. As soon as you're past that pine tree on the top of the hill, you'll be safe. Percy's like, okay, let's go. She's like, I cannot cross the boundary.
And Percy's like, that's bullshit.
Yeah, Percy's like, what the hell? It's like, I can't. You have to go. And the Minotaur is there, and it's big and beefy and wearing Fruit of the Loom tighty-whities, which is a visual.
Yeah, that's what they say. That's what they say.
That's what they say. At least there's tidy. At least he's wearing something, I guess. Grover's gotten hurt because the Minotaur threw something at the car. The car exploded. Everybody got out, but Grover's injured. He's mostly unconscious.
And he's just constantly whining for food, but we don't have any tin cans for the guy.
Sally is trying to distract the Minotaur so Percy and Grover can make it over the hill. But Percy turns around just in time to see the Minotaur grab his mother by the throat and like choking her, and all of a sudden she just dissolves into golden light.
And then Percy goes off. He gets him.
Percy goes off. He starts going straight at Bullfighter, gets out his jacket, like, come on, let's go. Minotaur runs at him. Percy somehow has these amazing, like, Spider-Man reflexes, just kind of backflips over the Minotaur, breaks one of its horns off by accident. When the Minotaur charges at him again, he's able to stab it in the gut.
I don't know if it was by accident. Like, it was pretty...
I mean, I don't think his goal was to break the horn off. I think he was trying to, like, hold on.
Well, it said that, like, he was already wrapped around. If he had just... But then he, like, started to pull, you know?
Yeah.
He started to pull with his jacket around the horn, and that it just broke off. So, like, maybe it wasn't his goal, but his instincts was probably the intention, you know?
That's true. That's a fair point. So they kill the Minotaur. Percy grabs onto Grover, drags him over, sees this camp, sees a big white house, and is just like, okay, passes out. He's done. Has more weird dreams. Wakes up a couple times. There's this blonde girl feeding him something that tastes like butter popcorn. He's starting to feel better. Some pudding that tastes like butter popcorn, which I don't care.
Yeah, neither do I. Like, that's a weird... like, I don't like buttered popcorn jelly beans because of the texture. If you're feeding me pudding that tastes like buttered popcorn...
No,
I ain't into that.
Buttered popcorn, yeah. So Percy wakes up. He is at Camp Half-Blood, which is that summer camp his dad wanted to send him because, hey, Percy, surprise, you're half Greek god. This is the camp where all these kids can go to.
Your dad was a Greek god. Whoa.
We don't know which one, but we're gonna, five guesses,
hopefully we're going to
suppose.
figure it out. Who knows? Maybe you'll just end up in cabin 11 for the rest of your life.
Yeah, because there are 12 cabins.
Bullshit. Holy fuck.
So bullshit. Yeah, let's talk about that. Okay, so we're at Camp Half-Blood now, which is what we've been waiting for.
Which is when it starts to get good.
Yep. So we run into Mr. Burner again. Twist. He's Chiron the Satyr.
The Centaur.
He's
the trainer of legends.
To train heroes. Trainer of legends, trainer of heroes. The camp is run by Mr. D, straight up Dionysus, who is on probation because he got frisky with a nymph that was
Which I gotta say, Zeus is real petty about that. Did he audibly call dibs? Because I don't think he did. Let's be real, it's Zeus. He never calls dibs.
Here's the thing. I bet the nymph didn't want anything to do with either of them.
I'm just saying.
Like, he was just being a petty bitch about it, yeah. So Dionysus, Mr. D, is not allowed to have any wine or alcohol.
Yeah, you know.
So he just drinks Diet Coke.
Daddy Dionysus, the god of wine and partying, is not allowed to have wine or party.
No, he's like, this sucks and I hate these children. But here I am. So you show up and there are 12 cabins at the summer camp. And like 3 of them are not being used at all. Because you've got Zeus's cabin, Hera's cabin, Poseidon's cabin.
Which gotta say,
and then,
it's kind of fucked that there's no Hades cabin. Really messed up.
So you've got the 12 it's the 12 Olympians, right? Everybody who has a throne on Mount Olympus,
yeah, but like,
they're the ones that get the cabins.
I would have at least made a cabin for each big name Greek, you know?
Well, the reason I think, let's run over who has cabins real quick. So it's Zeus and Hera, Poseidon.
1, 2, 3.
And then Demeter, Artemis, Apollo, Hermes, Hephaestus, Dionysus. How many was that?
Not enough.
Who am I missing? Not enough. Who am I missing?
I'm going to tell you here in like 2 seconds. So we got Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Demeter, Ares, Athena, Apollo, Artemis, Hephaestus, Hermes, Aphrodite, and Dionysus are the original 12 cabins.
There it is. Yep. So they all have a cabin. Obviously, there's no one in the Hera cabin because she doesn't have kids.
Because she's the goddess of marriage and virtue. So, you know, she got it.
There are nobody in the Zeus or Poseidon cabins, we learned, because after World War II, which was apparently just fought by the children of Zeus and Poseidon versus the children of Hades. So, like...
Adolf Hitler was a child of Hades.
Yeah, they straight up say that. So all of Hades' kids are Nazis and fascists, apparently, which is wild because that
gets thrown out the window then like 2 books from now.
Kind of, but we'll deep dive into this more when we actually talk about Hades and his episode. Okay, so big world war, and then the big 3, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, decide, all right, no more kids. That's why there's no one in the Zeus and Poseidon cabin, and then Hades doesn't have a cabin because they hate him so much that just the idea of having his cabin for his children to be welcome in Camp Half-Blood is, like, appalling. When we do the Hades episode, where we will just talk exclusively about Hades and his role in Greek mythology and the interpretations we have of him now, we'll get all into that, because I've got lots of opinions. Our guest does too. It'll be great. For the time being, you only get to go in a cabin when you've been claimed by your godly parent. Until that happens, you get to go hang out in cabin 11, Hermes' cabin, because Hermes is the god of travelers and all these things. So why not? We'll just put all of these kids,
and then it's like
all these kind of like,
and then it's like 20, 30 kids in one fucking rinky-dink, normal-ass summer cabin, while everyone else has like a fun theme to their cabin. Like, you'd think they'd at least fix up Hermes' cabin, but no, it's just like some generic summer cabin with bunk beds and fucking...
I mean, I think
they all have bunk beds, but it's all
like
they're all also like made out of a different material. This one is like a rinky-dink fucking wooden splintered summer cabin. Like, that's how we explained it pretty much.
Yeah. Oh, I almost forgot. Artemis doesn't have anybody in her cabin either. Obviously, it's like Hera's cabin. It's like for honor. We don't know that it actually does get used. That doesn't come out till later.
It even says like, yeah, we didn't have one. She threw a fit.
Oh yeah, we're worried about Artemis throwing a fit, but like Hades is fine. Yeah, right, whatever. Like, which I don't think she'd give a damn. She's like, oh, whatever. Like, my girls will camp in the woods, but you should have one for me because these are my girls.
They deserve some luxury, even though my tents might be even fancier than your fucking cabin.
They super are though. Percy gets dropped in Hermes' cabin, but it's okay because he meets Luke, who's like 19 years old and has been there forever, and is just like the coolest guy you've ever met. Like when you're like a kid and you meet this college student who's just like nice to you and
just
like,
vibes, dude. Like Luke literally just vibes.
Like, treat you like you're a human. Yeah.
It's the great. Voice that the guy gave Luke was like, let's go, bro. The total fucking server dude voice. And I'm like, I don't know if I would have done that for Luke, but like, let's go.
That's a choice. Okay. Percy also meets Annabeth, who is the blonde girl helping take care of him, who is also asking him if she knew what was taken, if he knew what was going on.
And then the first thing she says to him when he was conscious was, you drool in your sleep.
Oh yeah, that's Annabeth. That's a power move.
That's an
right
absolute
there, where
power
she knows
move.
That this guy is. Yeah. She knows this guy's important. Like, she can tell.
Because I mean, Grover found it. Let's be real here.
Mm-hmm. And Chiron is clearly like.
Chiron came and scouted him out personally. So yeah, he's important. It's like, yeah, you're gross, dude.
Yeah, but you have to be put in your place, like, just for the record, which I respect. Percy's got a bit of an ego.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Another character we meet is Clarice.
Oh, Clarice.
Hello, Clarice, who is very quickly introduced as a daughter of Ares.
And she's big. She's a big, burly, built like a brick.
Oh yeah, she'll fuck your shit up. Like, she's the daughter of Ares. She's has war in her blood. She knows what she's about. I do respect that, but she's also kind of a bully, and I don't care for that shit.
Yeah.
So her and her siblings from Ares' cabin grab Percy, and they're like, "Well, if you're new blood, we've got initiation." Which I'm like, do we just let this happen?
Well, I mean, let's be real here. Annabeth was going in to help them, but Percy's like, "No, I gotta do this."
Also, Annabeth is like, "It's initiation." Bye. Annabeth has been there since she's like 7. Like, she's been there forever. Yeah. They're gonna give Percy a sorely. He's like, "I'm not doing this today. Like, we're not doing this today."
Like, listen, I've had a rough day. I watched my mom die.
My mom died.
My best friend got knocked the fuck out. He's a satyr. Did you know Grover was a fucking satyr? I didn't. I do not want my head in a toilet right now. And then the pipes burst.
And then the pipes just happen to burst, and everybody gets soaked except for Percy.
Except like a 3-foot diameter around Percy.
And we're all standing around wondering, now who could Percy's dad be?
Who knows?
Like,
control over water?
Like, Annabeth's smart, and she knows. Like,
she starts to piece it together right then.
Yeah, and Chiron probably
she doesn't know for
too.
certain, because honestly, like, there's different gods that could probably control water. Like, there's different ocean gods too.
And so it could even be like, maybe he was a child of Hephaestus who controlled the pipes themselves and the tech in that.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it was...
But it's like the dry around, you know?
That's the thing. I'm sure Chiron knew too. Sally knew. But like, it's one of those things where it doesn't matter if they know and they tell Percy. Like, we know for a fact, because if your godly parent does not claim you, it does not matter. As we can tell from like the dozen or so kids in Hermes' cabin.
And I know. It sucks, but I guess like it's also like, how many Greek guards are there really?
Lots.
They don't have a cabin.
No, and that's bullshit.
So it's like they probably, like, even if I claim them, where the fuck are they gonna go?
And that's still vastly irresponsible. We can all agree on that.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Like, it's not even a fucking thing.
So yeah, what I like about this is, like, kind of right off the bat, just the situation at the Hermes cabin lets you know that, like, the Greek gods aren't really great people. Like, because Percy talks about all these kids who look sad and angry, and how this cabin is so, like, overcrowded, and all these kids are, like, waiting for a phone call that'll never come. Like, you instantly get the gist of, like, yeah, these are gods, but, like, they suck, though. Like,
and that was the slow but pretty fucking strong trip of Percy becoming jaded.
Oh, jaded.
Over
That's
the Greek
about the
gods.
Yeah.
That's the start. Was like, wow, like, they're gods. Don't you think they'd have time?
Like, you have nothing but time. You're immortal. You have nothing
literally.
But time. Send a fucking postcard. I don't know.
That thing you gotta do right now can wait maybe 5 seconds and be like, yeah, that's my child. Anyway.
Yeah, and you have to. So, but it's okay for Percy, because he does not have to wait long to be claimed. He has a great time at camp, makes friends, learns sword fighting from Luke, hangs out with Annabeth. Like, things are going great. Percy's actually having fun for the first time in his life, except for the weird dreams, the fact that his mom died.
Yeah. And it's like, wow, this is feeling like a family.
Yep. And then Capture the flag! It's murder games!
Woo! It's time for it to not maim anyone, but I'm gonna fucking tear someone's nose off.
Yeah, so they play Capture the Flag. It's various cabins against each other.
It's mainly Athena versus Ares.
Athena versus Ares. They currently have the flag. Hermes' cabin is siding with Athena, which means Annabeth is leading the charge. Percy is set on guard duty, and he's like, okay. And then Clarice Clarice and her cronies show up, and they're specifically like, we're gonna kick your ass because you embarrassed us, and we're the kids of Ares, and you don't get to do that. Wait for it, y'all. So they get in a fight, and then Percy's about to kind of get murdered a little bit. Like, maybe, I don't think they really were going to kill him, but they were probably going to beat him. They were
gonna like break a couple bones, maybe his femur, you know.
But we've got Nectar and Ambrosia. He's gonna be fine.
We'll beat him within an inch of his life, but everything will heal him.
But just an inch.
So we can do it again.
It'll be fine. Yeah, it's not yet. But then he calls upon the power of the creek and just annihilates these bitches. Because when Percy
heals his wounds, he gets a strange fucking power surge because, water.
With water,
and then his reflexes get fucking tenfold, and then he just destroys them. And everyone's like, what the, like, how did you do that?
Yeah, just in time for Luke to run across with the flag, and then everybody gathers around and sees
fucking the blessing of Poseidon just over his head, which is like a sea green trident glowing. And everyone's like, holy shit. And he's like, what the fuck?
All hail, son of the sea god.
And everyone bows to him.
Then he's immediately attacked by a hellhound, which, here's a fun fact, monsters like that aren't supposed to get into camp because it's protected.
No. And Chiron even says that, and he's like, unless someone summited here, and he's eyeing everyone.
So he's like, Percy's not safe. All right, Percy gets a quest. So Percy goes up to the big house, big cabin, goes upstairs. There's a mummy. Psych, she's the Oracle of Delphi. That's creepy, but we move past that. He gets a quest. Or he gets a prophecy, which means he now has a quest.
Well, he gets a quest, and then he goes up there to get a prophecy. You shall go west and face the god who is turned. You shall find what was stolen and see it safely returned. You shall be betrayed by one who calls you a friend, and you shall fail to save what matters most in the end.
Okay, so the thing about that is, like, no one's been able to go on a quest in several years because Luke went on his quest and got his ass kicked by a dragon. He succeeded, but like got hurt pretty bad. That's why he's got like this nasty scar, which like probably still hot.
Yeah.
Defining characteristic, villain scar. Weird. To clarify, when I said probably still hot, I don't mean probably still hot in spite of the scar. I mean scar probably hot.
Yeah, no, I mean, I got you.
So he finds out that someone has stolen Zeus's powerful lightning bolts, his master bolt, made by the Cyclopses, so Zeus could go kick the Titans' asses way back in forever ago.
A weapon that makes the nuclear bomb we dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki look like a fucking wind.
Yeah, not great. So we gotta go get that back. Who stole it? We don't know. But like everyone is just suspecting Hades because everyone just hates him on principle. So it's like, well, you gotta go to LA because obviously, we should always talk about the whole Western civilization concept where the gods have followed the fire of Western civilization since the Greeks.
Yeah, they just go wherever like is the strongest, pretty much the strongest power at the moment.
Which is like very Eurocentric, and I do not care for it.
I'm pretty sure neither does Rick Riordan at this point.
No, he has walked that shit back. Which, you grow, you're a writer, you grow, you learn, you understand. Nothing but love for Uncle Rick.
Yeah, the gods are above the Empire State Building, and Hades is in LA.
In LA,
because of course.
Because of course, LA. I've been to both, and I will admit I'd rather go to New York. Sorry, LA. It's kind of.
I haven't been to either, but even like just looking at everything, I'd rather go to New York.
Percy gets a quest. You got to go get the lightning bolt back from Hades, and you got to give it back to Zeus because Zeus thinks you stole it because you're Poseidon's kid, and they weren't supposed to have kids, you know. So like, obviously, Percy's like, okay, I'll take this quest, and mostly because he's like, look, the underworld's real. My mom is there, and I'm able to get her back. I don't give a fucking damn about my dad who never sent us a child support check. I don't care about these gods and their petty bullshit because they just abandoned their kids here. I don't care about the Zeus's lightning bolt. I'm gonna do this so maybe I can get my mom. Respect. I get it. Priorities. Yeah, these people have done nothing for you. Go. It should be easy, all right? You've got till the summer solstice, which I think at the beginning of the book is in 2 weeks at that point. That's the deadline to get the bolt back. Yeah. Now, it should be nothing. A flight from New York to LA, we can do that in a day. Unfortunately...
he's the son of Poseidon, and Zeus is a fucking petty bitch.
Yeah, Zeus is a petty bitch. And if he goes in the sky, which is Zeus's domain, he'll probably just straight up strike him down because he'll take it as a personal insult. Even though the gods are not supposed to get directly involved with any of this stuff, which is why Zeus just can't dip over to LA and be like, my brother... what the fuck is this? Why'd you steal my lightning bolt?
Give me my fucking lightning.
And Hades can be like, you're a bitch, get out of my house. And it's still shit. But no, they have to send heroes to do it because the Greek gods kind of suck.
Yeah, because they're just lazy pieces of shit. They just want to watch mortals toil.
They do, because they're immortal, and so this is their entertainment. Like these are
this
not.
Is pretty much just like reality TV for them that they can manipulate. You know, like when it's like, hey, text this number to vote on your
it's Big Brother
person to vote your person, and they're just like watching and they're like, yes, I want that one to win.
Yeah, actually, super. Yeah. Percy goes with Grover and Annabeth, who Annabeth was not supposed to be in the room, but she has this like magic Yankees cap from her mother. Oh, Annabeth's mom is Athena.
Yeah.
I have notes. I'm going based on notes. I didn't even think to write that down just because.
Because at this point it's common knowledge, but like I guess it's not because some people are new to the series.
Yeah, so Annabeth's mom is Athena. She's super smart. She wants to go on the quest because she's like, look, I've been here since I was 7, and I've learned all this stuff, but you don't know if you're any good until you actually go to the outside world. The problem is, Athena and Poseidon do not get along. They just don't. They sided against each other, I think, during the Trojan War.
Well, like, even before that, when Athens was being built.
Athens was being built, yeah.
Athens, I believe that was the first one.
There's, like, a lot of personal slights. Yeah. But, like, Annabeth really steers into that. So even though she wants to go on the quest, she's kind of, like, meaner.
I can't like you because my mom doesn't like your dad. I'm like, well, that's bullshit. Why is the son paying for the atrocities of the father?
Which is, like, a thing. But also, like, I guess in real life, kids will do that. But it's annoying. In the book, when she does this, like, I'm like, can we not? She's smart. Like, why are we steering into this whole thing? And so that's a reoccurring thing in the relationship where every time they start to get along or Percy, something happens, Annabeth is like harsher on Percy than the situation demands for like half the book.
If Annabeth didn't volunteer, he probably would have chose Luke. I'm gonna be real with you.
Oh, he probably would have picked Luke. Yeah. Because he's like, well, I can take 2 people and I want to take 2 people, so like, I guess I'll take Luke, he's cool, right? Like,
Yeah, Luke is cool. He's been very nice to me. He trained me.
He trains me. He's smart. He's been on a quest before. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
Luke is the best choice.
And then Annabeth is like, "Oh, I already volunteered. It's mine."
Which, like, fair.
Which, like, is the best option.
Because she's also been helping Percy, like, reading and, like, training and these kind of things. Like, so it's not like she hasn't done anything. They're kind of, like, friends, but not quite yet. So they go on their quest. Grover, we probably should mention, Grover is what's called a searcher. There are satyrs who are supposed to go out and find...
No, it's a keeper. He's not a searcher yet. He wants to be a searcher.
Searcher is the pan thing. That's right. What you said was a keeper?
Keeper.
Okay, so that means they go out and they find demigods and help them get to Camp Half-Blood. Because Half-Bloods, they tend to get, like, attacked a lot by monsters.
Oh, yeah.
It's a problem, especially if they're super powerful. Like, if they're one of their parents was, like, a major, like, top-tier god.
Maybe the Son of the Sea, who, I'm just saying, is incredibly powerful and an unstoppable force that you just can't fuck with.
Or maybe the daughter of Zeus, who was Grover's first assignment 7 years ago, who Hades personally sent the minions of hell after.
Oh, yeah, and eventually died, and Zeus took pity on her and turned into a tree, which is the big pine tree on the hill, which protects the camp.
Yeah, Talia made her last stand to protect Grover and her friends and make sure they could get to the camp, and as she was dying, Zeus turned her into a pine tree, which, like, okay!
It's a whole thing.
Yeah. I guess,
well,
thanks.
At least
thanks,
now,
Daddy Zeus.
Now the camp's protected.
But her spirit, it does help protect the camp and everybody in it. So that's pretty good. But that's why Grover's like, I understand if you don't want me to come with you because I did fuck up with Talia.
He's like, what are you talking about? But you're my bro. We're bros for life.
You're bros, Percy's like, ride or die. Because I have, like, 3 friends, and I know this means a lot to you, so you should come too. Okay.
Who else am I supposed to pick? Clarice?
Clarice?
You shitting me?
And none of the other kids at this camp have names yet, so... Yeah, not even, like, I think we mentioned Dionysus has twins.
Yeah, they haven't gotten their names yet, I think.
Yeah, their names are Castor and Pollux.
Yeah.
Which is not what you want to name your twin boys. For a lot of reasons. So they go on their quest, they hop a bus for the quest, because like, okay, we can't take a plane, we've got to get across the country. They take a bus, and then immediately there are problems. 3 old ladies got on the bus.
They look like Mrs. Dobbs.
All 3 Furies, and they want to kill Percy. They're demanding, where is it? Where is it? It's a huge fight. Bus explodes. Everybody gets off. It's fine. Nobody's hurt, but, like, it's a thing.
But people snap pictures of Percy.
Yeah, with his sword in the hand, which, the mist. We haven't talked about the mist. So that's why when Mrs. Dobbs got, like, shish kebab at the museum and then Mrs. Cure showed up, nobody, like, all the mortal kids legitimately did not remember Mrs. Dobbs. Percy could tell that Grover was lying, but
the mist altered their memory.
Yeah, the mist is this great plot device.
And it's a wonderful plot device.
Because if you're wondering, like, how are there monsters and gods and demigods in this world just around all the time, actually, but, like, normal humans don't see them? Well, they can't see them. Why? Because the mist, and it's, like, in the Iliad and the Odyssey. We will circle back to that when it comes up, probably in Sea of Monsters. When Percy pulls out a sword, they don't see the sword. They see, like, a gun or a baseball bat or something like that. They don't see the kindly ones, the Furies, as their Furies. They probably see them as, like, violent old ladies or maybe, like, dogs or big vultures. It's a whole thing. They're off the bus. They're trekking through the woods. They lost all their stuff. They don't have their money. They don't have their supplies. They are kind of fucked. So they find Auntie M's Garden Emporium, which is just this bunch of statues all over, and they can smell burgers. And Annabeth and Percy are starving, and Grover's like, this place is weird, we shouldn't go here, but they ignore their satyr, and they go all in, and they meet Auntie M, who makes garden statues, and that's weird, but she's nice, and gives them food, and she seems cool.
They're really detailed.
Really
it's a very nice...
And the faces are kind of horrifying.
The faces they're scared, they're terrified, they're always not correct, according to Auntie M.
Yep. And then, surprise, bitches, it's actually Medusa.
Because whoa, big surprise!
Big surprise! If you want to have a story about the Greek gods and your main character is going to be named Percy, you're gonna have Medusa there. Yeah. They are able to fight Medusa, don't look at her, obviously the whole thing, behead her. Then they're like, okay, well now we have a head, because it's apparently a spoils of war. Because Perseus had the head of Medusa, was able to use that bad boy later. So they don't look at the head because it can still turn into stone.
He takes the head and sends it to Mount Olympus.
As you said.
It's like, for the gods, pretty much eat shit. Here you go.
So they go camping in the woods. They find this poodle. Grover finds a poodle, befriends the poodle, Gladiolus, who...
Something like that.
Yeah, who is like this rich family's poodle, and they're like, okay.
Like, I don't want to go back, but I'll go back for you guys because you guys need the money and you seem tight. Which is super weird. That felt really out of play.
Yeah. So, it's really true because a lot of like they encounter a lot of monsters or creatures in the book, and that feels very like random and sporadic, but towards the end I started to realize, I don't know, like every single thing that they did and everything that they encountered actually does drive the plot forward. Like, okay, they would like, they would have taken the bus, but the Furies destroyed the bus. So because they did that, that's how they met Medusa, and that's how they get the head of Medusa, and that's how things happen later. And so all that works, except for the poodle thing. The poodle thing is one, like...
It comes out of nowhere, and then they just get to her.
It's a one, like, Deus Machina thing that I'm like, okay.
Like, honestly, they could have, like, scrounged around on TMs a little more. Like, she probably got a cash register, you know? Like this, because this was a stone emporium that people bought shit at.
Yeah, unless everybody's...
She's got to have a safe, right?
Checks. Anyway, they get on the train. They zip through. Annabeth, they're talking about, like, how you can't trust Hades. She describes him as deceitful, heartless, and greedy, which, like, seems a little aggressive, but you shortly later find out that Annabeth was one of the kids who had been traveling with Talia, who Hades is responsible for her death.
So it was Annabeth, Talia,
and
Luke, and Grover.
It was rough. But they stop on the train. They stop in St. Louis to visit the Arch because, being a child of Athena, Annabeth loves architecture. She wants to build things.
They have a layover. They didn't stop specifically for that.
No, she makes them get off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a stop in St. Louis.
I thought it was a layover.
It's a train.
I was like, listen, man, I don't know train schedules. Like, there's different tracks.
So they get off, they check out the Arch, and of course they're attacked by a monster. But not just any monster, they're attacked by the Chimera. And the mother of monsters, Echidna.
But she hates the little monster, the little mammal in Australia.
She takes it as a personal slight, yeah.
She does.
I wonder what she thinks about, like, the Sonic franchise.
I mean, honestly, I think she'd be into it. I like that Echidna.
Okay.
Guy's cool. He's strong.
So in order to get away, because the Chimera has, like, stabbed Percy with its scorpion tail, he's poisoned, he's dying. It's the first time that Percy legitimately comes close to dying. Like, he realizes, like, this is what it's actually like in this world. And I'm like, I don't know if I can survive this.
And then he jumps out into a river below.
Yep.
But this was a total gamble because he had no idea if his magic would work.
Yeah, but he actually, like, literal leap of faith because he's like, prays, like, Father, please help me. He lands.
And then he just fucking falls.
Yeah, he jumps and he lands in the river and he's fine. He's healed. He doesn't hurt. He should have crushed him to bits because that kind of pressure into the water, you'll get flattened.
Yeah.
But he's okay. While he's under the water, he sees this, like, glowing water spirit woman, who later we find out is a Nereid, who tells him, you got to go to Santa Monica Pier. Keep going. Don't trust the gifts. Santa Monica Pier.
I may have spaced out on it because I was working while I was listening to this stuff, but what were the gifts?
Okay, so the gifts that she's saying don't trust are literally... Oh, because Luke gave him a pair of, like, flying shoes, which he can't wear because of the air, so Grover has those bad boys on. Then Ares is going to give him some gifts later, who, spoiler, they're about to meet Ares. So literally any gift anybody has given Percy...
Okay, yeah.
Don't trust that shit.
Okay.
So then they go to Denver, because that's as far as their train chick was going to take them, and that's where they happen to meet Ares.
Hey!
It's like, hey, so listen.
He's like, hey, you're a piece of shit, but I'll buy you a burger.
I'll buy you a burger, and Ares sucks. He's just constantly has, like, making them feel very aggressive and violent, and Percy's like, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. He's like, listen, I left my shield at this, like, water park while I was hanging out with my girlfriend. I need you to go get that for me. And they're like, you can't say no when a god gives you a quest. So they go, skip over. It's the whole golden net thing.
It turns out to be a trap with Hephaestus. And so they got to go through, and it's a
We find out Annabeth is afraid of spiders.
Deathly afraid of spiders. Holy fuck,
she's a
dude,
death.
she
It's
froze.
a phobia.
It's like, y'all,
like, this is not joking
ever seen fucking Indiana Jones, how he is with snakes? It's that.
It's that, but worse. Like, Annabeth, like, the little mechanical spiders come out when they get, like, trapped in the golden net. She's like, she can't do anything. It's too much for her to deal with. I do not blame her. I totally understand, because as we find out later, like, Athena's children, like, spiders hate them specifically because the whole Athena Arachne making a net thing. Which,
it's a whole thing.
Cannot deal.
We'll get to that later, maybe.
But they make it out of that situation because, Percy is brave, Annabeth is smart, and Grover is loyal. That's how they survive that. They get the shield, they give it to Hades, not Hades, they give it to Ares, fuck you. Ares gives them a backpack, and they're like, okay, here you go. And also just hop on this truck, and you'll get to Vegas.
Yeah. And then we find out the truck is illegally hauling wild, rare animals, like an albino lion.
And like a zebra. And that sucks. Like, that was...
Oh, yeah. And then they were,
really
like,
sad.
just fucking held in, like, some of the worst situation ever.
Yeah. Side note, animal wildlife care is very difficult. Zoos can be very helpful to help with preservation and conservation efforts, and also like educating people about these creatures they usually won't see, so that's how people learn to care about them. But always do research if you're going to visit any of these like places where live wild animals are being held, and make sure that it is actually doing good in the world. That's just my PSA. So they get to Vegas, they release the animals. Percy can talk to the zebra because Poseidon made horses. So cool, there's another power in Percy's demigod utility belt. They're like, oh, sweet. We've got like a week before the solstice. We are making such great time. We should just dip in this casino real quick.
The Lotus Casino. Man, they got like arcade games going crazy. This is great. We can like eat a full-ass meal since Denver.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah, we're play these games. We're just gonna hang out for a bit. It's great. We're 12. Hey, this kid over here looks like a hippie and keeps saying groovy and does think it's like 1970s.
We gotta go.
Yeah, Percy realizes something's very, very wrong, that this place is magic. It wants to keep them in. Yeah, some people think they've been there for a couple weeks. They've clearly been there for decades. He gets Annabeth and Grover. They drag themselves out. They check a newspaper, obviously. It's 2005. And, oh shit, tomorrow
we gotta
is
go!
The summer solstice. Which is wild, which is another thing that like makes me wonder what is up with, well, not even the Lotus Casino, because the Lotus Casino will come back later. And that's, I think, why it's introduced now. Because it's also one of those things that feels weird. If we wanted it to be like, oh, there's too close to the deadline, then it could have been they started the quest later, and that's where the deadline is at. So the Lotus Casino, I think, only exists in this moment to introduce it as a concept so it can be useful later in the series. And it is, and it's great, and I love it. We'll talk about the Lotus Eaters and stuff in another episode. Annabeth, being smart, wise girl, as Percy calls her, takes one of the casino credit cards they got from the Lotus Hotel, which had just unlimited money on it. They take a taxi, and they're like, we need to go to LA. Swipe the card. It's got all the money. Yes, Your Highness, let's go.
Pretty much an Amex Black card.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Percy's been the subject of a manhunt because, he and his mom went missing, and all of a sudden he was
seen photographed in front of a blown-up bus. The arch was blown up, and he was spotted there. Animals released, and he was spotted there.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. They was with the biker, and because Ares appeared as a biker at that burger joint when he was telling him to get his shield. They get seen and spotted there too, and so Percy's like, cool. You see his stepdad on the news just crying like, oh.
And meanwhile, he already has another fucking chick.
I'm so sad. I just hope they find him. Yeah, so it's like, oh, my grief counselor Sugar. Like, sure, bitch. But they're in LA now. They get stuck at a weird mattress store with Procrusteus,
who traps Grover and Annabeth on beds and tries to stretch them out
because they don't fit just right, and he needs them to be exactly 6 feet to fit the bed, and if they're too long, he'll just chop them and it'll be fine. And he's like some character from Greek myth who once tried to like almost killed one of the heroes with excessive hospitality. And it's at this point that I realize, wow, Chiron is a great fucking teacher.
Yeah.
Because Procrusteus is a deep cut. That's a deep myth cut. Like, that's not... I know the Minotaur. I know Hades and Persephone. I know... No, like... And Percy remembers this, and he knows how to get to him. Like, Percy convinces him, like, how does... Really? I'm super interested in your mattresses, actually. Tell me more. Huh?
You will not feel it at all. It's like you get on it, try it, and then decapitates him.
Yep. It was this point when I actually realized that every single event that they go to, every encounter actually does lead to the next thing. Because I was like, this is such a weird, like, why did we do this?
More
like,
Dracula,
we could have
right?
cut this. But no, that's actually where they find, like, the card. Yeah, they get money, they get drachmas, and they also...
DOA records. They knew of DOA records. That's the thing. But, like, no one knew what that was. It's like, the taxi driver's like, DOA records, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Which is great because it's dead or alive records.
They meet Charon. Need to go to the underworld. Here's a bunch of drachmas. Like, let us in. Because he's like, I need a raise. Like, I'm working hard. I want to wear my Italian suits. One thing I need to call out is that when we're describing Charon, he's like, well-dressed, suits, very slick. He's described as having chocolate-colored skin. Anna, I recognize, again, 2005 is his first book. I'm sure Uncle Rick doesn't pull that shit now. But here's just a thing to any writers who maybe listen to this. Do not describe your characters who have dark skin as food colored. Just at all. Not mocha, not latte, not chocolate. It's not a compliment. It is super fetishizing. Yes, I am a white lady. I'm not the end all be all on this. I'm just telling you what I have read from other writers who are people of color. Also, it's like you're only ever describing characters' skin colors when they're not white. That's also a problem. Just that's another PSA. Don't do that thing. Moving on. The end of the underworld. The underworld is a whole thing. We will have a big episode discussing the underworld.
Yep.
They get past Cerberus.
Past Cerberus with a nice ball. He just wants a good game of catch because he's a dog. He's a good boy.
He's a big three-headed doggo. He's a Doberman. Annabeth had a dog. They took the dog to obedience school when she was young, so she knows how to get past the dog. So that's sweet. They get in. Grover almost gets pulled into Tartarus.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because the shoes that Luke gave him, they were basketball shoes with little fucking wings on the end of them so they could fly. Grover, as Darien said, he gave him Percy, but because the air is not the greatest for a son of Poseidon, Grover was wearing them, and he used them, and he used them pretty well, honestly. He was getting very used to them. But the moment they showed up in the underworld, they started to drag Grover to the pit of Tartarus, which is really bad. Holy fuck, is Tartarus just not the greatest place to be?
As we know from earlier, once the Greek gods overthrew the Titans, they chopped up Cronus into little pieces and threw him into Tartarus.
Yep. And we know that all monsters that die just kind of reappear in Tartarus.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about how is the Minotaur here? How are those monsters here? They were defeated. It's because they don't really have souls, I guess. So they just eventually will reform and go back to Earth because, again, plots.
We need monsters for our plot, and new Greek monsters aren't coming around every day.
If you want to make a book about Greek mythology, you're going to have the big players. You got to have these icons show up. And then they get to Hades' palace. And they meet Hades, who's just the first god that they meet who looks like a god. He's just massive and in his
total
outfit
toga,
and just okay, children, welcome. It's you've got some nerve. I want that bolt. I want my helm back. Because twist, Hades' helm was also stolen.
What are you talking about? You have the bolt. And it's a total back and forth. He said, she said, and then Hades is oh no, it's in your bag.
Yeah, and then, oh shit, it's in the bag. And they're but you stole the bolt because you wanted a war.
Why the fuck would I want that? I'm busy enough as is. Have you seen the fields? They're overcrowded, and that's an infinite landscape.
So Hades immediately starts bitching about the challenges of infrastructure.
Don't even get me started on Karen and his Italian
you want a raise? I don't know, maybe stop buying these suits. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
I don't want a war. I don't want more people down here. I'm busy. Oh, Santa Monica Pier. So they went to Santa Monica Pier before going to the underworld. They got some pearls that would help them get out of the underworld, but they only had 3. And then Hades reveals all right, if you give me my helm, back, I'll give you your mom. Because Sally Jackson didn't die. Hades stole her right before she was about to die.
To use as a bargaining chip, which is fucked. But
and
he's if you don't have my helm, I'll take one of your lives.
And Annabeth's volunteering to be all right, you take your mom, I'll stay and fight. And Grover's no, I don't really have a soul, I'm a satyr, I'll just come back as a flower, you should go. And Percy's no one is staying behind.
No, we're all leaving. And then
I'm making the decision. So they use the pearls to escape. Unfortunately, they have to leave Sally behind because there's only 3 of them. Yeah, so the lightning bolt is now in the backpack that Ares gave them. And Percy's okay, we've been played, and I don't care for this shit. So they dip out, they get back up, they get rescued. There are earthquakes. Hades is pissed. Zeus is pissed. Everybody's pissed. It's summer solstice. There's about to be war. Kronos is probably waking up.
Ares shows up real quick.
Ares shows up. Hey, so you were supposed to die.
You're supposed to die. What the fuck, bro?
Twist, it turns out that Ares has the helm, and he was the one that gave Percy the lightning bolt secretly, because the backpack was the sheath, and once they got to the underworld, the lightning bolt reappeared. He didn't steal it, but he doesn't tell them who did. And Percy's why would you do this? And he's why wouldn't you just hold the lightning bolt for yourself? And Ares gets kind of weird. He's why wouldn't I have just kept the lightning bolt for myself? Yeah, and then all of a sudden it's he goes into a trance. He's it would cause too much. It's way better to start a war between the things, and I get to have fun because it's war. And Percy's I don't think this was your idea at all, because here's the thing we forgot to mention, because it's Percy's having dreams about some voice from that scary ass pit and someone talking to it. And it's like, oh, this
and
is
Annabeth
bad.
is already putting it together.
Yeah, Annabeth's smart, and she's already put two and two
It's
together.
like,
No,
it's got to be Hades. And then, like, it's not Hades. And she's like, shit!
Ares is like, I'm gonna just take the lightning bolt, and I'm gonna kill you, because I can't have you telling anybody about what happened here today. And then Percy challenges him to a fight. He's like, if I win, you give me the helm, and you have to leave us alone. And if you win, you can kill me and take the bolt and whatever. So they fight, and it's wild, because this is the god of war, and Percy's 12.
And Percy's holding his own.
Percy does not win. He does not really beat Ares. He's lucky because Ares isn't bright.
Yeah, Ares is not smart.
He gets lucky and he's able to outmaneuver Ares. And so ultimately, but also they're right by the ocean. They are literally by the ocean.
He uses like 7-foot waves to just knock Ares off balance while he like slashes at him, which kind of cheating, but I mean, he's just using his arsenal.
Yeah, he nicks Ares in the heel and draws blood just a little bit. But if you're able to draw that like golden ichor from a god, you win. Mad. Like that's it. That's all it takes. Like, yeah, the god can kill you and stuff, but like if you're able to scratch him, like that's
like I mean, a mortal scratching a god, unprecedented.
So Ares is pissed. He's about to murder him, and then once again something seems to stop. And he's like, "Well, fuck you. I'm gonna curse you. Next time I'm on the battlefield, watch out because you have my."
It's like whenever you raise a sword to someone, you will be at a disadvantage.
So then he shows his like true form, and they look away. Obviously, you don't see their gods in their true form, or you will be burned to death.
We'll just die.
He dips. But good news, because hey, a bunch of people like saw this fight happen. They didn't see him go into the true form, but they saw the fight happen. And now the new narrative is that Percy and his friends were kidnapped by this horrible biker and forced into this cult, and they've been trying to escape this whole time. And Percy's really, it's not his fault at all.
This is just a fun side note. On live news, he's like, yeah, I'm sure my stepdad Gabe would love to give everyone in Los Angeles a free appliance from his store in New York as a thank you for helping us.
The Furies, I forgot. So he gets the helm back from Ares after the fight, and he gives it back to Mrs. Dobbs. And Mrs. Dobbs is actually pretty cool about it.
It's like if we didn't mean to cause you this much trouble, man, we thought you took this thing. So I'm sorry. Yeah, they don't apologize, but
they're pretty cool about it. She says, like, grow up to become a brave and true hero. Because if you cross my path again, I will kill you. Which is like the nicest thing I think anybody has said to Percy on this trip so far.
Oh, yeah. Which is weird because it's his math teacher that he murdered in like the first.
She tried to kill him first. They're even now. So he gives the helm back to Hades. Hades keeps his end of the bargain and delivers Sally back home immediately. So a bunch of people raise money. They get the kids a plane ticket to send them back to New York.
Because they only had like 12 hours left, they had to fly.
They were pretty sure he's like, we got the bolt and Zeus won't risk damaging this by just to blast Percy out of the air. So we're going to fly back.
Yeah. Like it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Percy sends Annabeth and Grover back to Camp Half-Blood to tell Chiron everything that happened because somebody's got to know. But also, Percy's not sure he's going to come back from Mount Olympus alive.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm coming down.
Percy hightails it up to the top of Mount Olympus, floor 600 at the Empire State Building. Goes out. It's Zeus and Poseidon are waiting for him. He gives back the bolt, explains what happened. Zeus is like, nope, it's not Kronos. We're not fucking talking. I'm not going to hear about it. We're not talking about this.
That's the end of the discussion. And because you brought back the bolt, my gift to you is your life.
Zeus is like, well, I'm glad you got my bolt back, but if you ever try to take a plane again anywhere, I'll kill you. Zeus dips because he's got to go purify his lightning bolt, which, okay, that's a euphemism.
That lightning bolt was all over the place.
He specifically says he needs to purify it to get the mortal taint off of it.
Yeah.
So, which leaves Percy alone with his father, Poseidon, for the first time ever.
And it's just like, hey.
And it's not like a great conversation because it's like super weird and awkward. And Poseidon does say like, hey, I wish you were never born because I've given you like a terrible fate of a hero. And Percy's like, cool.
Yeah.
I'm 12.
Love hearing that.
Love
hearing that from my father.
And it sucks.
That's
and Percy's
great.
like, okay, well, I feel really sad and gross. But like right when he's about to leave, Poseidon's like, because like they're not allowed to show favoritism even to their kids. They're not supposed to be nice. Again, the Greek gods suck. But to Poseidon's credit, before Percy leaves, he tells him, hey, don't take any of this to mean that I'm not proud of you. Whatever you do next, know you are a true son of the sea god. And that means a lot to Percy, who's 12 and just wants his dad's approval because I'm 26 and I still want my dad's approval. I get it.
And I still like, it's completely like, he says that his mom is like a woman who like is like no other, is a queen among women, and is like no other that he's seen in 1,000 years. And I'm like, man, Poseidon just called Percy's mom the Lay of the Millennia.
That was the whole thing. So and that's when Percy finds out that his mom is back home, that Hades kept up his end of the bargain. Rad. So he goes home.
Yeah, and then he's like, hey, don't open the box in your bed. Don't do that.
Percy goes home. Gabe is there, still an asshole, about to threatening to call the cops on
Apartment's
Percy.
a mess.
His mom is there, and Gabe like threatens to hit her, and his mom flinches, and that's when Percy's like, "Oh, this guy has been hitting my mom. This guy's actually been. We know he's been physically abusive to my mom for who knows how." And Percy's ready to kill him. Like he's got.
Oh yeah, 100%. Percy's like, he grabs Riptide, but he can't do anything about it because it won't hurt mortals, because Celestial Bond just passes right through
So
mortals.
it'll only kill monsters and like Greek myth bullshit, and also demigods because they're of both worlds. They can be hurt by anything. It's like, yeah, you have these cool superpowers, but also everybody wants to kill you all the time.
So they're talking in Percy's room, and then the box shows up just out of nowhere and is like, I could take care of Gabe right now. And Sally's like, no, I got to do this on my own. Like, okay, when you want to. That box right there is your ticket.
This could help you, yeah. And Sally's like, because she's like, oh, he's been really good to us. Because we forgot this.
I don't know. I don't know if we explained it.
The reason
the box is Medusa's head.
Oh, the box is Medusa's head. But the reason Sally married Gabe in the first place was literally because of that like moldy garlic human smell about him. It was so pungent.
He was so putridly human that it hid the son of a sea god.
That's the reason Percy survived for so long and only had like a few weird experiences rather than every day the Minotaur shows up to try to kick his ass. It's because Sally married this guy specifically knowing that he would hide her son because she wanted Percy to stay with her. She didn't want to send him away to summer camp. She wanted her son to know that she loved him and was not just getting rid of him because he was inconvenient or difficult. But Sally Jackson is great. And so, like, Percy leaves. He's like, I'm going to go back to Camp Half-Blood. And she's like, okay, well, will I see you at the end of the summer? And he's like, I don't really know yet. But the whole time, Gabe is, like, screaming, like, where's my meatloaf? Where's my meatloaf? That kid better leave or I'm going to call the cops on him. And Sally Jackson's fine, like, you know what? Yeah, I'm done. Okay. And so...
and drops the head of Medusa right in front of him when he's playing poker and sells his body off.
Yep, just kills all of them. And because we find out later, like, that's how she sold her this art. She found her new apartment, and she's using the money she got from selling her ex's statue to pay to go to college. And that's interesting, because on one hand, it's like, all right, Gabe sucked. We know he sucked. He was a monster. He was abusive. He was a terrible person. He was a bad person. But, like, I don't believe in the death penalty, and I don't believe in, like, this kind of, like, I believe in restorative justice. So, like, killing... in the context of a fictional book in Greek, I'm fucking all for it because Sally Jackson becomes the avenging goddess. Like, that is what that sequence is. Percy goes back to Camp Half-Blood, knowing his mom is taken care of, because, like, Percy's like, I wanted to save her. My dad wanted to give her a palace under the ocean, but, like, Sally has to be able to save herself. And she does, because she's the avenging goddess, and it's great. And then she gets rid of, she's like, tells Percy, she's like, and that'll be my last statue. I've gotten rid of the tools you gave me.
Yeah. That's just great. It's like, we want another statue by Sally Jackson.
And she's like,
it is inhumane and no.
Thank you. Thank
you for your money, but I'm not doing that again.
I don't plan on marrying another asshole. Thanks. So Percy goes back to Camp Half-Blood. And she does it. So Percy goes back to Camp Half-Blood and has just a great summer. He hangs out with Annabeth, and Grover gets his searcher's license to go look for Pan. And it's great. Like, he has so much fun. Dionysus calls him Peter Johnson. Because
continually refuses to acknowledge his actual name. Even Annabeth too, like, just continues. Like, Annabeth's been there for 5-6 years now. He's like, yeah, it's Annabelle, Annie girl. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, his favorite game is, I'm gonna pretend I don't know your names. It's like, that feels like more work on your part than just saying their names, but okay, it's great. But Percy's still like, am I gonna go home or am I gonna stay here? Because
like, there's like the prophecy. We got to talk about that. But the prophecy he got pretty much predicted: go west, and the god who was turned was Ares. Mm-hmm. What was stolen safely returned. Obviously, the helm and the lightning bolts. But the thing that is bothering Percy pretty much the whole summer is that he hadn't been betrayed yet. Mm-hmm. When am I going to be betrayed? And he was constantly looking out for that, because fuck, Grover and Annabeth were willing to give their life for Percy. Like, so he doesn't know what to do.
I never realized that Annabeth was supposed to be a red herring until I was reading it through this last time.
Was she?
Yeah, because one, she's kind of, like we talked about, an asshole to Percy, because of the whole Poseidon and Athena thing. So clearly, like, very abrasive to Percy. She's got the Yankees cap that lets her turn invisible. And they're talking about how, like, well, the person who would have stolen the lightning bolt would have been able to, like, go undetected. That could be Annabeth. And so Percy's also looking for someone who's going to betray him. And so I didn't realize it, but it's very heavily, like, geared to be like, oh, was it Annabeth? Like, is she the friend who will, like, betray Percy? Was it her? And then, no, fucking obviously not. Because when I was actually reading it when I was 12, I didn't pick up on those cues. So it wasn't until I'm an adult that I'm like, oh, it's supposed to be Annabeth.
Even me, like, reading through it, I didn't pick up on that shit because I'm like, yeah, Annabeth. Like, she's just a fucking cool character.
Yeah.
At the end of the summer, he's still deciding as to whether or not he's going to stay or go or whatever.
Like, even Annabeth is going home. She, like, talked about, like, she doesn't have a great relationship with her dad or her stepmom, but she's like, I'm going to try again. He wrote me a letter. I wrote him back. I'm going to go home. And he's like, good for you. Good luck. And so Percy's like, I'm going to kind of be here by myself. I don't know.
And then Luke pulls him off the side for, like, a final goodbye. And it's weird because Luke was swinging a sword that was half celestial bronze and half steel. Half-bloods aren't supposed to hurt mortals in any situation ever. So why does he have that? And then he's also got cans of Diet Coke, which you're not supposed to have outside food or drink at Camp Half-Blood. And they don't have cans and shit for Diet Coke unless it's Dionysus summoning a can of Diet Coke. But that's a whole situation. So, like, there's a lot of shit pointing to it. And then Luke summons a scorpion. Yeah, he throws a can in the river. And then Luke summons a scorpion, and it just stabs Percy, and then he turns out Luke's working for Kronos.
Yeah, so we find out that, like,
fucking Luke.
Yeah, Luke is the most jaded for the Greek gods.
He's
like, they sent him
mad.
Yeah, they sent him on this quest, and it was a bullshit quest just to give him something to do.
Aside, and
they're like, okay, you did it, bye. And he's like, what the fuck? And so he's angry, so Cronus is able to influence him. During Christmas, when they have, I guess we didn't mention, during the winter solstice, everyone who was still at Camp Half-Blood for the winter went on a field trip to Mount Olympus, where the gods were having their meeting, and that's when Luke stole the helm and the lightning bolt. And Ares, because, you know, Zeus sent everybody to go find his lightning bolt. Ares found Luke, and then Kronos influenced Ares to be like, you shouldn't turn him in. You should take the lightning bolt for yourself. Hey, and then get it to Hades, so there's a war. And Ares is like, oh, cool, I'll do that. But it's just Kronos manipulating everybody.
Pea-brained little boy.
Yeah, Ares is very easy to manipulate. So Luke's like, yeah, I'm gonna leave, and Kronos is coming back, and we're gonna tear down the Olympians because they suck. You've seen how they used you, how they manipulated all of us. Like, we're out. Bye. And Percy barely makes it out of that situation with his life. He gets stung by the scorpion, makes it into the creek, but he's dying. Luckily, Chiron finds him. They heal him up. They talk about it. And he's like, I can't hide here. I got to go back home. And we'll see what happens next.
A happy ending.
That's a happy ending.
With air quotes. Happy ending because he gets to go home and spend a year with his mother, because that's great. Sad ending because the guy who he thought was like a close friend to him.
Super working for Kronos, and also Kronos is coming back, but Zeus and the other Olympians don't want to talk about it, and that will certainly not cause more issues than necessary.
It won't. Of course it won't. Why would it?
Yeah, no. So that is The Lightning Thief.
Woo!
And I liked it. I had really fun.
It's a wonderful book.
Yeah, I had a really, really good time reading it again.
Yeah. Join us for the bonus episode when we talk about how piss poor the fucking movie was.
Yeah, okay, maybe eventually if we get 100 patrons on Patreon, we will talk about the movie. How does that sound, Edward?
Oh, yeah, we just don't want to talk about the movie. That movie.
I don't want to talk about the movie so bad for a lot of reasons.
Oh,
okay.
Fuck.
Well, we're not going to talk about it here. This is podcast. It's podcast time. We talk about the things we like, and I like this book. I think it's really well written, like we talked about.
The book is wonderful.
When I was like reflecting on it before I started, I was like, that book is just a series of events that just kind of happen. Here's the Fury. Here's Medusa. Here's the Chimera, and it feels very like, what? But then you're actually in it.
And they had like tiny little details at the end of each one that was just tying them into the next
every
one,
single action. Yeah, every single action or event, except for that poodle, does lead into...
Get that poodle so out of fucking left field.
It's really
It's like he needed something to bridge NTMs to the next thing. And so like they're camping and they find a runaway dog.
It's like a pink poodle. Yeah. I'm like, but I think it's to have Grover do something because he's like he can talk to animals, and so the poodle likes him specifically, and that's why they're willing to help. But yeah, it's the one thing where I'm like, you could have gotten money from Medusa's place, but we already discussed that.
There's a lot of things they could have done.
But I digress. So, Davis, what's your favorite part of the book?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Honestly, I really like the betrayal of Luke. I think that was like a really, like, as a kid, I didn't see it fucking coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even now, if I knew nothing about it, I probably wouldn't have seen it coming. And I think, like, it's either completely thrown out of left field, but then you also think about it, who was there during the winter solstice, during the field trip? Which, yeah, Annabeth, but Luke, too.
But Luke.
I mean, he's the son of the Hermes, and anytime you brought up the gods, or even especially Hermes around him, he'd get fucking mad.
Yeah, he definitely, you could tell he had, like, a chip on his shoulder about something.
And so it's like, it's great, and it's just, because, like, yeah, fucking Luke trained Percy and was, like, friends with him all summer just to suddenly go around and fucking try to kill him.
Well, Percy was supposed to die on the quest.
It's great. And I think it's just wonderful, and I thought, like, man, who would ever expect the son of Hermes to be the fucking villain?
No, it's very good. Luke gives Percy those shoes that were supposed to drag him to Tartarus. All of this stuff. I think it really works.
And fuck, if Percy was wearing those shoes, he would have, because the only reason Grover got out is because of his hooves.
Yeah, it fell off, which is a problem that was set up before. The shoes would often fall off his feet. So I think that was really good. I think the book is, like, obviously Rick Riordan's first novel.
It's got issues.
Difficult. It holds up really good because I'm a huge fan of the Shadowhunter series by Cassandra Clare. They are my favorite. I love them all. My first tarot card set is the Shadowhunter Tarot. It's really hard to reread City of Bones, which was the first one. It's just a little messy. There's some weird choices. The decision, like, one of the characters explains what demons are to a demon because Clary, who doesn't know what demons are, just happens to overhear, but they don't know Clary. Like, I love the books, but it's rough. And so I will definitely, like, hand it to old Uncle Rick that as a first book, like, as a kid's book even, like, he clearly had, because he was a teacher. He had a lot of respect for his audience. Yeah. Like, you can tell that. Whereas, like, there are some books when you can tell that, like, early on
they'll chastise and patronize the children that read it. Meanwhile, he's
these
like,
are just kids, they don't care.
Kids are gonna understand it even if I just write it in. Like, it'll be fine. Like, for me, reading Sea of Monsters as a child, I didn't know what the fucking Odyssey was. That shit was fun, though. I loved that book.
We will talk about Sea of Monsters in a future episode.
Yep.
But going forward, the next several episodes will actually be us talking about the individual myths that have appeared in the book, characters that Percy met, events that he went through with his friends, the things that actually are inspired specifically by Greek myths. We're going to talk about the original versions of those myths, and we're going to talk about the various ways they've been remixed over time, and not just in The Lightning Thief, but in just tons of media.
Yep.
I believe the first one we're doing is actually going to be the Fates. But until the next episode, thank you all so much for joining us, and keep up to date with what we're doing and updates of the podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We are Podcast of Poseidon on all of them. You can find us at podcastofposeidon.com. Send us an email at poseidonpod@gmail.com, because we would love to hear from you. Let us know if you liked the series. If you liked what you heard today, it would mean a lot to us if you reached out to your Percy Jackson loving friends and told them about us. And if you didn't like what you heard today, it would mean a lot to us if you reached out to your Percy Jackson friends and told them about us so they could listen, and then you could all just talk about how much you hated us together. Isn't it fun to bond with friends?
We'll be in your ears in 2 weeks' time.
I don't like being in your ears. I don't like being in your ears. I thought of a good outro, though. I did.
Oh, cool.
Okay. We'll be back in 2 weeks, and until next time, don't be like Zeus.
Don't be like Zeus.
Podcast of Poseidon is created, produced, and hosted by Darien and DJ Smartt. It's edited by Darien Smartt.
Our music is Athens Festival by Martin Hain. Our cover art is by Audrey Miller. Find them on Instagram at Bombshell Nutshell.
Come hang out with us on Instagram and Twitter at Podcast of Poseidon. Find all of our episodes and episode transcripts at podcastofposeidon.com.
Thanks for listening.